in San Marcos. He's an education specialist, so he knows of what he speaks. He's working with our students in the secondary, correct me if I'm wrong, Matthew, in the secondary level. So Matthew not only supports students with special education needs, he has a breadth of experience in regards to providing tips and tools to support technology and accessibility in this virtual learning environment. He's also an author and a public speaker. So without further ado, Matthew, I'm going to let you share your screen, and thank you again for presenting to this group to focus on our secondary student population.
Perfect. Thank you for having me. It's always great to present and show some tips and tricks just to make learning more accessible to all of our students. So I'm really excited. So if you guys already don't have access to the slides, there's a slide deck there, and you can follow along through that, or you can watch me as I share my screen. It is your choice. And within the slideshow, there's tons of links, there's tons of resources. So you can always go back to it at any time and review. Luckily, this is recorded. I'm going to be going through several applications that students use all the time, like Google Classroom, Google Docs, Google Slides, and showing you guys some accessibility features to make it much easier for them. And hopefully, at the end of this presentation, as parents, you will be able to further help your student, and maybe you'll learn a thing or two. I think that overall, a lot of conversations I've had over the last month is that we not only need to have our students and teachers on the same page regarding technology literacy, we need to do it as well as the parents. We all need to be on the same page, at least have the ability for us to understand at least how these things work, have at least some knowledge of how to support our students, because we're all on one team. So I just want to reiterate that. And then as I go through this presentation, I want just you guys to know that each district has their own different tools. Maybe not every tool I'm going to present or resource I'm going to present may be available immediately for your students. So I recommend discussing it with the case manager and the district, specifically if you want access sometimes to some of these tools. Some of these tools just have to be authorized for school computer use. So just wanted to reiterate this as I begin. So right here on this slide right here, just if you have any questions, I'm going to come back to this at the very end of the presentation. This is just simply, if you click on this link here, it goes directly to a Padlet. And if you would like to add a question, you can just go to the very bottom of the screen and click the red button. So if you're on the slideshow, click where it says here, and it will take you directly to Padlet. And if you'd like to have a question, and I'll take a look at it towards the end of the presentation, if you can just have this window open on your screen and you can write a question. So you can write a question there, and obviously at the end, if you could write that in the chat as well, I'll take questions that way at the very end of the presentation. So as I said earlier, I recommend just having this slide deck open up on your browser, as you can follow along with me as I'm sharing my screen, but also just for you to click around on it as we go through. Just a little bit about me. I've been doing this for a little bit now. Definitely just working on new types of tech integrations every day to help our students learn, regardless of their age, ability level. I teach teacher candidates of how to integrate technology, as well as I support them in their learning to become teachers. So just a little bit about me. Just working on another book right now, and hopefully that will be out in 21, really early in 2021. So, and that's going to be talking all about this stuff. There'll be some chapters on special education, and really kind of builds upon my previous book that came out in July. So that's going to be really exciting. So our goals for tonight is to show you just how to navigate a lot of these applications, extensions, devices, provide some strategies and resources to help you engage your students, outline some tools to help your students become more organized, and just strategies that parents can use to communicate with their students and teachers. One thing as parents I want you guys to focus on at home is, ask your student some questions regarding, self-care and self-awareness, regardless of their age. Um, and I think it's really important that we focus on social emotional learning. I'm focusing on this in my classroom. I know several schools and districts are focusing on social emotional learning as well. Just checking in with your student, how are you feeling? Can you describe your feelings? How are you taking care of yourself physically, mentally, emotionally? How are you feeling in terms of stress? These questions are important, you know, especially being in a pandemic, but also in general, we need to build resilient, lifelong learners, and that social emotional learning is that major component. So I like to use choice boards. Parents could use a choice board. They can easily find one of these by just looking up self-care choice board or mood charts that they could just use with their student. They could put up on their phone or iPad or computer, and they could use that to spark the conversation. So I think that this is incredibly important. So I want to just keep social emotional learning as, I think just as important as our academic learning. So let's just navigate a couple of devices. And before I go into that, I'm just going to talk about some key vocabulary. So when I talk about applications, that means downloaded directly onto the device. So if you have an iPad, phone, computer, you download it directly on to that device. An extension is a downloadable add-on to an internet browser like Chrome, Firefox, Safari, etc. And then when I talk about online instruction, whether we are in an online setting or hybrid, synchronous just means live. It's live in person, face-to-face live. Asynchronous is more at your own pace, module-based, step-by-step, and that takes place as well. Especially with this new 4x4 schedules that you may all be experiencing as secondary parents. I know high school, and then I know at the middle school level, they've switched up the schedules that the periods are longer now. So that leaves chunks for live instruction as well as more at your own pace. So those are things that we're seeing. So I know that majority of districts use Chromebooks, so I wanted to provide you a slide with some shortcuts. And I want you to focus first on where it says Alt and you see the brackets. If you press Alt in brackets on a Chromebook, it splits the screen in half. So to me, that's game changing for a student because you're dealing with multiple windows at once. So Alt and the brackets press simultaneously, it will help them navigate multiple screens at once and multitask. So I think that's an incredible really keyboard trick with a Chromebook. And then just I provided some Google Chrome shortcuts, just keyboard shortcuts. I'll present it bigger just for you guys to see. It'll be bigger when I present it all like this, but you can see just simple keyboard shortcuts that you can show your student, and just simple ones like zooming in and out, control plus, control minus, um, copy and pasting. That's essential for secondary students, and especially if we're moving from one document to another. Text, control shift, creating shortcuts, dimming the screen, just looking for these key shortcuts on a Chromebook is essential because it helps just amplify our students' ability to manage the device. And I think as parents, just having this knowledge of this is how you can do it, and you can assist your students with that at home, because we talk about these in my class. I provide some routines with these shortcuts, so definitely it's something for you to review with your student and just to have on hand, so that if you're sitting down with them, supporting them with their work, you can really kind of help them make it just more accessible just with some easy keyboard shortcuts. So I included a video extensions to put into your Google Chrome, and this is something that you can watch later on. I'm not going to go and watch it right now. It's about 8 minutes, but it shows you step by step of how to add an extension to your Chrome browser, which are really just a program that is within the web. So, for example, on this tab, I have, for example, the extension store. So I Google searched the Google extension store, and it's the Google Chrome web store. Once you click on it, you can just search. It's a bunch of applications that you add to your um, Chrome browser. This can be on Firefox, Safari. They all have these extensions, and it goes step by step of really how to add them. And a lot of these will amplify your students' learning and provide supports for them. I'll go over a couple throughout this presentation, but I just wanted to let you guys know is that you do have that resource right within this presentation of step by step how to access and add extensions, because that is essential. Also, just as I mentioned earlier at the beginning of this presentation, is that certain extensions may require administrative approval. So if there's an extension that you may like, contact the case manager, contact the district, and if you feel like a lot of these are free. So if it's a free one and it's working for your student, have that conversation, because there's a lot out there. So before, so I'm going to talk about engaging students with special needs, but before I go and do that, I'm just going to show you just some simple ways if you're working on Google Docs or Google Workspace, which is also known as G Suite, just some easy things just so that that can really help your students. And they're things that you may already know, but there are things that I feel that are essential. So if I open just any sort of like Word doc, I'm going to blow this up for you. So if this is a Word doc right here, and if I want to do an add-on, this is called speech to text. You just click on add-on, or I mean on tools, sorry. You click on tools, and then you just click on voice typing. So you go to tools, voice typing, and to me, this is game changing. And I show students this all the time, and I just want this reiterated at home, because voice typing is game changing, as it is improved significantly over the course of the past 5 years. Period. Then you just click off and you have voice typing. And I know for many of our students is that they're more verbally able to articulate their thoughts versus on a, writing it out, typing it out. And what's great is it, having the ability to use speech to text is, I think, really makes it more accessible. It gives them more student voice, and just continue to work on this routine, because I show them all the time where to access this and talk to them about it. And at home, it would be great just to continue to reiterate this and just know that your students have this, and it's really good technology now. And you can do it in Microsoft Word, and you can also do it, for example, in a PowerPoint. So I'm going to pull up just a random PowerPoint I have. So it can be accessed really the same way. You can click on voice typing and speaker notes, and you could say, I'm going to use this on my slideshow, period, and just have the student copy and paste it over and put it on the slide. So I'll show you again. So say I finished my voice, I'll just control and copy it, and I'll paste it. So they have the ability to do it on Google Docs, Google Slides, most of Google Workspace. It's very easy. You just have to click on tools, and you click on voice type speaker notes, or on Google Docs, tools, voice typing. And all you do, it appears, and then you click on it and it will record your voice. So very straightforward. And this is really game changing for students. So I'm going to show you guys something as well. There's a app called naturalreaders.com, and it's a free service. And if you click on right here, I go to naturalreaders.com and say I had a text and from my document, I'm going to copy and paste it in to the document here. And I can turn it into dyslexic font or keep it normal, and it will play it out loud to me. So if the student copies and pastes it in, or a teacher, they'll so to me, that you can have it various speeds as well. You could slow it down, you could speed it up, you can have different voices. um, for the free one, they have 2 different voices. You can upload files, you can upload documents to this and have it read it out loud to them. And this is a free service. So naturalreaders.com. And I just like it because it's the dyslexic feature, because you can change it to dyslexic font. And you can decrease the font size, you can make it bigger, you can share it to various others. So it's, to me, just something like this, and just creating a routine with your students at home and in our classrooms is huge. It makes things so much more accessible and allows them to access the curriculum. So those are just a couple things I wanted to show you. I'll show you guys a few things later with a few other tools. Can someone mute themselves? I hear some background noise. Thank you. So engaging students with special needs at home. I think the biggest thing is, especially at the secondary level, is if parents can spend 5 to 10 minutes, whether depending on the student's need, where your student's at, review the to-do list on Google Classroom, or write a to-do list down on paper, or use an application to do it. To me, the students have been most successful if they've been doing a to-do list and writing things down, and really just focusing in on that. And then also creating goals and incentives maybe around that to-do list. Johnny or Sally finishes the top 3 assignments, then they're going to get something. They'll get some sort of reward or positive reinforcement. Okay. And also, I like giving students the opportunity to practice like math, reading on like a game like Prodigy. It's an academic based game. They have an avatar they roll around in, and it's a free game. So I think review list, goals and incentives for students, and kind of like a gamification is basically what we call turning it into a game, and having learning applications where it's more game like. Really, that's what's been really successful for our students. And parents can, I think the top 2 things right here, review and the to-do list, and goals and incentives, are 2 big things you can do at home. So just some quick extensions and supports. One's called block sites. We know that students at the secondary level have social media, YouTube. I can see my students' screens on a Chromebook, and they're still, I like being able to having that surveillance. But at home, I think for a device that you're using at home, or on your student's Chromebook, you can download is Block Site, and it blocks certain websites like social media, could be YouTube, could be a game, etc. Then also this extension called Voice In. It's speech to text on all websites and emails. So I showed you how to use speech to text in a document and slides. This application allows you to, or this extension allows you to do it on a web browser. So like on any website, there's something that you could write in that would be available, or on emails on like Outlook, Gmail, etc. Then there's an extension here. It's just an online calculator. And I think that students having a calculator, whether they just go to calculator, just search it on the internet, or having an extension is really powerful for them. And I think just as parents, teachers, and service providers, I think feedback is everything for our students. It's one of the highest levels of learning. And I think that if parents and teachers we can work together to provide your student timely feedback. For parents, it's more like reinforcement at home, checking the to-do list, making sure that they put forth an effort to completing a task, and providing that feedback there. And then as a teacher, we provide that um, academic feedback and positive feedback at the same time. We provide really time feedback of, what can we do to improve this? What mistakes were made? How can we fix this mistake, etc. So I think that providing, if we can be unified on both fronts there, it's huge. And that goes with the research as well, is provide multiple methods of instructor communication. So, with the teacher, the parent, the student, we want to be able to all communicate and provide that feedback. And one thing that teachers use and what parents could do is download the extension called Moat. And if with this extension, for example, I'm going to show you what it looks like on this document. So say, for example, I shared my document with my parents or my teacher. What they can do is say I want to leave a comment on the document, and say I wanted to leave a voice comment. So I would just click on Moat, and I would provide a voice feedback for my student. This could be from a parent or teacher versus just a text comment. And what's great about Moat is it's free up to 30 seconds, and it provides an immersive reader. So it provides closed captioning on my comment. So you'll see this in a second. You'll click done, and I'll click comment, and then it will load, and it will say like your teacher, it could be your parent that has ability to comment on a document. I can play it. So you can play it, and this is one of the easiest ways to provide students, any student really, with voice feedback. I think voice feedback is so much more effective than written feedback for all students. I do it with my grad students. I do some text feedback with comments now, like grammar, punctuation, but when it comes to like content or just normal feedback, chunking the feedback within like 10 to 30 seconds, to me, students are going to be a lot more reactive to that feedback. So I like Moat, and it's a very easy one to download as an extension. It's just right here at the very top of my Google, and it will go into any sort of Google document, slides, draw, Google Sheets. It's a really powerful free tool that you can download. So just, I try to, as a teacher, I provide, I think that if you can see a Google Classroom or a lesson with your students, if they have opportunity to speak, write, create, and to collaborate, those are effective lessons for our students. We want to have opportunities for them to do that within our instruction, and that's what we're focusing on at this different school sites with the educational technology. You might see them on a Pear Deck or Nearpod or Flipgrid or Edpuzzle. Those are things that teachers are giving them. So you might hear those words, just know that those options, these tools provide them options to interact in multiple ways. So you might see these things. I'm not going to go into each one specifically because they're not ones that parents are going to use, but they're what teachers are going to use mostly. But just know that these are some big ones out there that are being used to help for to provide them with opportunities to learn. So let's talk about some opportunities to help students become organized. So I have a couple ideas. I know that a lot of secondary schools use Google Classroom. So if you click on a student's Google Classroom, what's great is at the very top left-hand corner, I can try and make this bigger, there's a to-do list. So you click on the to-do list, and it can be for all the classes. It can be individual classes. You see everything that has been assigned for the week, this week, next week, later. You can see what's missing. I don't have anything missing because I'm not really enrolled in many classes, but you can see, for example, which things are missing for your student, which things are done and turned in and graded. To me, this is essential. If you're a parent at home, sit down with your student and look at their to-do list on their Google Classroom, their Seesaw, or Schoology, or whatever learning management system, which is exactly what this is. Have them review that. To me, it's game changing, because I try to tell my students every day. It's like, hey, did you do XYZ? Did you review the to-do list? Did you cross it off your to-do list? So it's something that I think that everyone should be doing every single day. Something like before dinner, after dinner, in the mornings, whenever you guys set that up for your household, it's something that I think that should be done to really support your student, and just to keep accountability on both, on them. That's what I think is the biggest issue is that we can provide all these tools and show them how to do it multiple times, and obviously it's hard when we're not there in person to sit next to them and do it, but just developing these routines over and over and over again is going to help our students to be consistent and have them be accountable. And if we have that at home, it's really powerful as well. So another tool I'm going to show you is called Wakelet. It's free. And what I like to do with this tool is it's really easy you create an account, and all you do is click on the green dot, and you can create a collection. So this could be a collection of websites that you can just click on and will take you to them. It could be videos. It can be images. It can be things you want to access in your Google Drive or your Windows OneDrive. It's really a great tool, and I'm going to show you exactly what that looks like for me. Let's see. It loads. So what it does is that once you create a list, it provides links to certain things. And so if you have a student create their own collection, it could be their Google Classroom link. It could be a link to their Google Drive directly. And I just really like this tool. It just allows me to curate, and it can also be used as a digital portfolio. So I know I'm doing this with several students, is that you can create your own portfolio about your like the students themselves for a class, or
Matthew, are we allowed to like actually jump in at any point?
no, not right now. Are you talking about questions?
Not a problem.
We'll hold questions towards the very end, unless if you put it in the chat, I'll possibly address that question as I go. So that's Wakelet, and I mean, I didn't give it full justice, but I think it's another free tool that can be used to help your students. Just go to that I just mentioned. There's a video right here about Wakelet. It consolidates everything. I have a video about Google Calendars feature. You can just watch step by step of how to create a calendar event. then just some information about Google Keep, which is a similar type of application to Wakelet in terms of like note keeping, to-do lists. So you have those resources for you. Also, we know that our students need additional support. So I like, as a parent, you could set up your student with a free Read Theory account where it works on reading comprehension. It gives them a passage and they read it and they do questions, and you can see where their reading level is for informational text. So this is something that you could have at home for them in addition to what they're doing at school if you want them to be reading more every day. Then Khan Academy has free video tutorials of really anything that your students are learning in school, from algebra to writing to government to world history, providing those tutorials about those subjects. So you can help support your student, look up additional content about what they're studying, which I think is really helpful. And then if your students are interested in creating stories, games, or they're really into video games, Scratch could be a really fun activity for them. Instead of actually playing the video game, they can actually build their own with Scratch, and it's very student friendly. Students with special needs, I think it's very accessible for them. So it's another option for parents that may want to use something in addition to what they're doing at school, especially when it comes to break, holidays, etc. So those are just some free applications that parents can use at home for their students to go a little bit above and beyond, or to give them something else to do. I've included for you a ton of different resources that you could look at for your internet browser, like their extensions or apps. So speech to text, reading comprehension. So there's basically tools that can summarize articles for you, which is amazing. You can have your students at home, if you want them to read what's in the news. They can be reading News ELA, which is free. They can read Tween Tribune, which is student-friendly articles for teenagers at all different reading levels. News in Levels is basically news articles that are broken down based on reading level. So those are those type of applications. And then readability, just there's resources for dyslexic readers. They're basically immersive readers, where basically, like I showed you earlier, it's something like this, but it's built into all the internet browsers. So anything that they're looking at, they can be dyslexic friendly, or it can read it aloud to them without copying and pasting it. So that's just another set of resources here to help make things more readable for your students. And then just some more speech to text here. So then if some of you speak a different language at home, there's a great video here that can help step by step help you turn your Google Classroom into, it could have Spanish, it could be French, it could be Chinese, whichever language that you may speak at home. This video shows step by step of how to do that. So, it's can have it both in English and Spanish. I mean, I think that, accessibility in terms of language is important as well. So language supports, this is a step-by-step video of how to do that with the settings tool. And then I'm going to end really on some just communication strategies for students and parents, just so that we can all be on board. I think that as educators and parents and students, just being all on the same page is extremely important. I think that a lot of teachers now are using Google Voice. Students can create their own Google Voice account that they could just be using on the computer for school purposes, where they can be texting or messaging back and forth. Text messages are going to be responded to in an average time of 4 minutes versus an email that could be 12 hours before the email is even seen. So I definitely feel that if you can message them within Google Classroom, Seesaw, Schoology, or text message your teacher that way, you're going to get a faster response versus an email, because we're not looking at our email all day, and students aren't looking at their email either all day. I have, it's hard for some students to sit down and write an email unless, they have many different types of routines, and definitely focusing on that in English. But I think students are more at the secondary level, more prone to want to send a text message versus an email. And I think most of us as adults are too. And then I like to use video messages as well. I use Loom, which is a way for us to really video record everything that we are doing in my class. And it could be a way for students and parents to communicate as well. Basically just creating a short little video of step-by-step of how to do something. So Loom is an extension as well. Once it's downloaded into your internet browser, I can't do my video right now because I'm using it on Zoom, but I just think screencasting for parents and just communicating back and forth with them, just if you want to have them look up something or if you want to give them a video message, to me, this is, I think, just sometimes a lot more powerful than an email or a text. Just give them a quick voice message and have a picture of you or have them look at whatever you're looking at if you want to show them something. So I think having an extension like Loom, it's free and it's just so easy. I can just start recording, and once I'm done, it gives me a link, and I just send the student a link via email or text message or whatever platform I'm on, and it will play the video for them once they click on the message. So I'll do it real fast. I'll just show how I'm recording so that everyone can view later. So I'm recording a video. We're using Loom. And once I'm done, I'll click on this. And really, once we're done, all I need to do is copy the link, and I'm going to put it back in our chat tonight for our presentation. So all you got to do is, once you copy that link down, you can just put it in a chat, or you can put it on any sort of document. I'll just put it on this document, for example. And all you have to do is just click on it and it will play the video. So to me, it's really amazing how fast we can give our students a video of us communicating with them, whether you're a teacher, parent, whomever. So Loom is a powerful tool as well, and it's free. And it may take a little bit of practice, but I think it's like a 3 to 4 step tool. It's not like 8, 9, 10. It's really fast and doable. So with that said, I just want to say thank you for this opportunity. I hope that I shared with you just a number of quick things that you can talk to your student at home, or just maybe something that you could help support them with. And I really hope that helps you in a distance learning environment and even blended learning environment as we go forward. This is not something that's going to change. We're going to, at the secondary level, I suspect that we'll be in a blended learning model for years to come. I think that we're going to have multiple days of the week where we'll be online mostly versus in person. That's where me as a futurist is talking based on what I'm seeing, what will happen even after the pandemic is over. So, and technology is only is improving and becoming more and more prevalent. So I hope that you enjoyed this, just some information, contact information, and my website. And now if anyone has any questions, I'll do some Q&A for maybe about 5 to 10 minutes. Does that sound okay with the panel? So I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. But if anyone wants me to show them anything for a question, I will be willing to share my screen again and go through a couple steps if they have any questions regarding anything that I discussed tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Rhoads. So in terms of how we would like our participants to share questions, they can either type them in chat, correct? Or you've provided them an opportunity to post them on your Padlet.
Yes.
So I had one that I think was reflected from one of our panelists, and that was the text-to-speech feature. Is there a way to utilize that within the Zoom chat?
So that's a great question. And as far as I know, within the Zoom chat, it does not. You would have to say, for example, I would mute myself and then I would do speech to text, say, for example, on Google Docs, and I would copy and paste it into Zoom.
Are there any questions currently in the chat?
I haven't seen any.
I'm not sure if it's a question or a comment. Can you hear me?
Yes, Yoli.
Oh, okay. Dr. Rose, are you aware that when parents are given access to Google Classroom, we're only given access to reminders of work that is missing? We are not allowed to go on the students, that page that you showed that what the students look at, where you touch the top to open that area that tells you what's upcoming and classroom. As a parent, we're not allowed access to that. You have to go through your child. So for some of us who have children who are unwilling to part with that Chromebook, because in their mind, that's the student Chromebook, nobody else can touch it but the student, we don't have the access to do any of the stuff that you're talking about. So when you said check with the administrator, I did many times through many tech calls say, how can I look at that? And they said, not allowed. Google set it up that way. Do you have any get around for us that are struggling?
Yeah, so does your Google, so for example, does your teacher send you a summary at all? Does it have a preset
Yeah,
summary?
that's what I get is a summary,
Okay.
daily, or it's either daily or weekly, but what it tells you is what assignments are missing. There is no way to access the 3 things that you said were so important in starting the routine, which is to.
And in terms of behavior, that's a behavior thing that I would, if your student is refusing to sit down with you and just have them just look over it with you, then that's something that I would contact the case manager, and that would be a full-on conversation that I would have between the case manager, the student, the teacher. I would set up a meeting, because that to me is, that's as a case manager, that's something that we would have to address. I would be contacting them and really setting that up.
Sure, and that is a behavior, but for many of the students with autism, they can get stuck and become very dogmatic in certain points because the world is black and white, and that's the student Chromebook, and nobody else can touch it.
Yep.
So.
I mean, totally, and I get that, and I think that it's something that behaviorally, it's something that you gotta just work towards as a team. I mean, I think in person, it definitely is easier for the teacher to have that ability to see, but I would be contacting the case manager and saying, am I able to see, they could take a screenshot for you, or the teacher could take a screenshot for you. You could just say like, hey, Dr. Rhoads, can you take a screenshot for me and just send it to me of what this looks like for that specific class, or can you give me a list? I know, teachers are more than able to do that. And I think just that communication piece is important as well to think about.
Dr. Rhoads? I had a question or a suggestion even. My daughter sometimes can't access everything that she needs on her school Chromebook. And so she signs into mine or my husband's
Mhm.
laptop. That's another way
Yeah.
that I can access and see her Canvas and her emails to make sure that things aren't falling through the cracks and just sort of a second set of eyes. That might work, Yoli.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you. That's a very good get around to review that to-do list, which I didn't know existed. So on Google Classroom or, and you know, many times when he shows me things, it's for the briefest of 3 to 5 seconds. And I am so slow to read and to find things, I don't get it. So, but thank you. That's a good
Yeah,
suggestion.
that is a good suggestion, just going on a different device. No, totally. That's a great idea. And then I saw like a question on the Padlet. It says, can I find a to-do list in Canvas? I believe so, if I'm not mistaken. I just don't use Canvas every day, but there's definitely a feature where you can see what assignments that have been assigned. I just haven't looked at it in a bit. I would have to talk specifically to, it's kind of funny, my grad students at San Diego State use Canvas all the time. So I'll shoot them a quick message and say, can you, there's a to-do list on Canvas. Can that be emailed or accessed to another party? So I'm gonna send them a message right now and see before we get off. So I know that they're on that all the time. I just don't use it very often, so I don't want to make any promises. But I'm pretty sure that there is something similar to that on that platform though.
There's a question in the chat. It asks, my daughter is in virtual learning on Edgenuity. Do you know if the same review options are available on that? I don't have access to her work through this program.
I know that in my district, for example, for Ingenuity, we have a weekly report that's sent out to case managers, and this is in San Marcos Unified, of whether they're on progress or not. So I'm not sure what district you're in, but I know that within San Marcos Unified, we have ability to see where our students are that are on Ingenuity.
Any other questions that we have for Dr. Rhoads this evening?
You have been a wealth of information, so much so that I am very good. My friends know I'm very good about taking notes. How do we get all this information that you have been able to prescribe? How do we get this? I mean, Heidi, how do we do this?
For those of you who may not have been aware, I think Heidi touched upon this for a moment at the beginning of today's presentation, is that this presentation from Dr. Rhoads, his previous presentation, and Amy, you were just kind of echoing some of the comments from that presentation and tonight's, is that we loved as a community, we love as our families, all the information that you've shared. It's exciting. It's also, depending on our level of technology, accessibility, it can be overwhelming, right? Like you guys see me fumble as I'm trying to shift from one screen to the next. And I consider myself relatively pretty savvy when it comes to technology. So one of the beauties that came out of our conversations from your past presentation, Dr. Rhoads, is how do we take not only the information that you've shared, but then how do we almost from an educator perspective, differentiate our instruction so that regardless of our ability to understand technology, we have communication steps in place that will guide us to the level of resources. So Amy, one of the things that we're doing, and I think it's on Friday, could Heidi, you can remind me of the date. We are actually meeting with our self-assistive technology.
This Friday.
This Friday, thank you. So Amy, based on the recommendations of our CAC exec board, after Dr. Wood's presentations, we're meeting with our assistive technology specialists to take a look at the information that not only Dr. Rhoads has, but we currently have on our website, and figure out how do we come together with some kind of a a brochure or some kind of communication that really allows parents to know, just on a very simple basis, here's where I go for if I'm doing technology 101, and this might link us to some additional resources. So we're going to be crafting that to help our families and, quite honestly, our educators understand some of this, right? So we're going to be coming up with a brochure from a SELPA level that will help guide our families and our teachers in understanding a sliver of Dr. Rhoads' knowledge as it pertains to technology.
And that's great. I know that really a lot of the research is saying is that, creating webinars or brochures or modules for parents and teachers, just to have both have access to it, is really what's needed right now. So I think that that's a really positive step.
And that is big gratitude to our CAC exec board, because it was based on your feedback after one of your presentation, Dr. Rhoads, to say, how can we make this comprehensible, regardless of where we are as parents in our understanding of technology. So thank you. This is just one exceptional resource. We have lots of great ideas.